Okay, so we're going to try to combine our pieces now. So I have a ball that's moving with the keys right now so we can look at it. And I have a paddle which is moving with the keys as well. So let's imagine that we're playing Pong and the ball is here. All right, it should obviously reflect and come back off. If the ball is here, oops, see if I can get this to stop, right? It's the same coordinates, okay? But it shouldn't reflect because the paddle isn't behind it. So how are we going to take that idea and actually get the mathematics out of it? So really what we're looking at is I don't care in this range. So like if I'm over here, I'm not worried about a reflection. The part where I'm worried about it is when my x values are in this range. So when my x values get within a certain range, my next question is, what do my y values look like? So my y values also have to be in a range. And we're going to make this a little bit simpler on ourselves of if there's any, if we look at like this 1/2 piece, even while this yes would come off at a weird angle, we're going to count that as a miss. So we have to have half of the ball or more on the paddle to actually reflect it. And that's going to make it hopefully a little bit simpler. So let's see if we can kind of create that with our code, where we have our ball bouncing off the paddle. So we're going to start with a paddle bounce where it's just directly into it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it an x value, velocity of like -1, and I'm going to have to always ask the question about the ball. So I'm going to look at this and basically determine collisions. So we've started off with that x value piece. So I want to evaluate x values. So I'll say if the ball position 0, that's my x value, oops, is less than, all right, well, where was that? That was on my paddle left y, okay, paddle left y, sorry, not y, x, paddle left x, all right. Well, I don't want to just do that because I'm worried about that ball radius. So if it's less than that plus the ball radius, right now I'm just going to do this. I'm going to say print hit. So let's see what happens when we do that. So it's right there, nothing shows up, and it should print hit. And we didn't, so we're missing something on our collision piece. So let's go back and look at where we put that. And I didn't put it in the draw handlers. That's not going to work very good. So what I want to do is I want to always ask that question, not just once on the key handler. So let me get a new line over here. And let's try it again with our draw handler. So let me get the console back. All right, and we should get a hit, and we do, which is great. Okay, so now let's, instead of hitting it, right, what I want to do is I want to say this. I want to say ball vel x, right, to turn it around is going to, I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to say times equals -1. So that's just going to give it the opposite of whatever it does. I could just hard code it to be a value, but let's just see what happens if we multiply it by a negative. Oops. Let's make in the draw handler ball vel x. Okay. So let's see what happens. All right, it's going to come across and it should come off. So that was pretty good. It bounced off. We have our collision. It's going to go off the other screen. There's no condition on that other one. But our problem is if we run it again, right, is since we've just tied it to an x value, it's going to always bounce, right? There's nothing that's going to deal with the paddle piece. So what we need to do is adjust this so that this doesn't just happen. We're going to look at our y values. Okay, so we need to make a condition. So if, all right, so we're going to deal with the ball position 1, and somehow we're going to deal with the paddle left y, right? And this is what I said we're going to deal with basically if it's within half of the height of our thing. So if it's less than 0.5 times paddle height, okay, then what we'd want to do is we want it to turn around, right? So let's see what happens if we can get this to work. And actually, we want to subtract those two values. So we want to subtract those two, and we hopefully get it to turn around. So let's run it. Let's move it up a little bit, and it bounced. So that looked pretty good. But let's try it again, and let me move it down a little bit, and it still is working. All right. So we're going to potentially have an issue here, though, of looking at these values when we have something above. So what we want to really say is it's an absolute value. So I'm going to take the absolute value of that. Then I would turn it around. All right, let's see if we can miss it. So we run it, and we're just going to move it up off the screen. So the x values are in the range, but the y values aren't, and so it's not going to bounce. And so from there, we can start to see how it should reset. Okay, so we can get our ball back. So we would want to deal with a miss. All right, so if we've gotten through here and we haven't hit it, basically it's a miss. All right, so we could update score, we could reset, whatever we want. I'm going to put a condition in here to just deal with the reset. So and you might want to adjust where this goes. I'll say if ball pause 0 is less than 0, so it went off the screen. Move this back. I'm going to basically reset the ball position to be the middle and go from there. All right, so let's see what that looks like. So I run it. Oops. Bad. Oh, I have to put something up here to adjust it. All right. And I need to make a global to ball pause. And now let's try it. All right. So it should bounce. That's great. We should move it up. Hopefully it misses. It gets off the screen and it resets. And it resets. And we can bounce it. All right, so that's it. We have motion with the ball, we have motion with the paddle, we have them interacting with each other. And from here, we can start to really kind of build the game of Pong.